That's the beauty of Taekwondo, right? The footwork and the kicks, because it's far too easy to punch somebody in the face. But if you can kick somebody in the face with style and knock them out, isn't that something beautiful to see? And then these guys and they're spinning, whizzing, technique that's effective. Now you got them coming together, grabbing each other and trying to hit each other with little inside crescent kicks, or one's falling down and he flips a kick up and kicks the other. I mean, sorry, it's totally
down over the years, isn't it?
It's totally gone to. But I was around during the heyday and part of the early 2000s where it was still, they were coming up with electronic scoring and all this crap. But for fairness, and the Cookie One was going through some flummox. They had to be. I can't remember. I don't want to get into the details. But the fact is that. So I traveled a lot. I traveled a lot as a representative of the United States and as the student of one of the founders of the Cookie One, who's now in charge of competition in this area. So I went to all of these seminars, all of these tournaments, and traveled the world. That didn't pay the bills so much, but it allowed me the experience that most round eyes don't get.
Yeah. And
so it's pretty cool. And so I've always come back to it. Now I live in Florida. I know a lot of great martial artists out here, but I basically train on my own. And everybody has their own sort of setup and system. And then in Hawaii, I taught after-school programs. I'm big on that. Kids, martial arts after-school programs. And I'm still, a tremendous herald for that and a trumpeter of any school district, any place. I will go and speak to the city council, school board, the trustees, the PTA, whoever, to get martial arts after-school programs going. That's what I did in LA. That's what I did in Hawaii on my own. And that's what I would love to do here. And they've already got a pretty good setup here, oddly enough. They've got vans and these schools go and pick up the kids. So it's kind of it's a great thing to see around here. I live in Florida now, Clearwater.
Yeah. I think that's good as well to help the children and bring them on, because it gives them discipline, doesn't it? That they sometimes don't have at home and stuff. So
it does. And then if you start the day out like that or end the day like that, and then it keeps them off the streets between 3 and 6, when the parents aren't home yet, and the kids might be walking on the street, and there's the drug dealer, and there's the guy, there's the gangbanger, and the whatever. It's like, hey, where you going? Da, 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 right? Chats him up, does this and that, and all of a sudden he's getting into trouble, right? Or she, whoever. In other words, they're in a better environment at the school, on the school grounds, than the parents are home, right? That kind of thing. So we did that in East LA and in South Central Los Angeles, and it's still going on today with California Youth Karate Club. So very proud of that and very proud of those things. So that's the warrior's journey, isn't it? To make the world better, to change people one at a time, and give them a little examination on themselves, because that's what martial arts does, right? It helps you with your greatest opponent, yourself. So that's that.
Loren, can I just jump back a little bit? I've seen a couple of photos with you in a lineup from your training days. You've seen a photo with Bill Superfoot Wallace. Did he used to train with you as well, or part of your training regime?
Yes, that was a Jun Chung. And Bill was really a humorous guy. He was a fun guy. He was a fun gentleman. Now, he would come to Jun Chung, as everybody did. Jun Chung was kind of a mecca for great martial artists and athletes and people who were in the industry. Like, I can remember seeing Dolph Lundgren. I sparred with Dolph Lundgren, all this kind of stuff,
Did you really?
Yeah, and him and Bill Wallace going together. Well, he was very nice to me. He's a huge man.
I've heard he's a big guy, isn't he?
Yeah, Dolph is a huge guy. And he was very gentle with me. I mean, we knew how to, go light. I'd seen him kick Bill Wallace in the bad leg, and then Bill just left hook him and his nose go over here, and he was fine with it because he's Kyokushin, so that's no big deal. But then I was Superfoot's demo dummy. His wife, his former wife, Susan, I don't think they're still married yet. Susan was a student at Jun Chung. So she got into the advanced class, and he would come and teach. He would use me as his demo dummy. He would comb my hair with his toes, and he knew he could kick me, right on the belt line or whatever with that side kick or do whatever. And I wasn't going to complain about it, and I was going to give it back to him, of course, with a little control. Because I actually got in the ring with him once. This guy, Sam Jones, who, you remember Flash Gordon, that remake of Flash Gordon with Sam Jones? So he was a student at Chuncheon. He built a freaking ring in his backyard up in the Hollywood Hills. So I'm over there with Simon, with this other guy named Phil, with Bill Wallace, with some other black belts, and Simon and Philip, as I said. And so I get in the ring. I'm this little wet behind the ears green belt. And I stick him with my back kick, but I don't really stick him. Like I could have really stuck him, you know? And then you hear from outside, you hear, ooh. And I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, shh, sirs, please. You know, so what does he do? He 1-2s me up against the rope. I put up the wall, and there's the heel. Bunk. So I go, okay, you know, I could stand up and keep going, but I think I'm going to sit down. So I just started in the corner. Having known that I could have gutted Bill Wallace, that was good enough. And then he would just chase me around the school because he only got one good leg. I got two good ones, and I'm fast as lightning. So he just hit me after the bell. That's because I could move, you know, so it was all good. But, you know, you run into these incredible people, and you get to move with them. And look at him, he's still moving around. I don't know, he's almost 80.
He comes over to England once a year. He does a seminar. He's in Mayo, but he's still at it. He's still doing amazing.
I know, he is amazing. And I remember seeing him before class. He would take off his shirt, and he had that kind of wild, you know, Bill Wallace eyes, and and he was just ripped. And he would do like 45 pull-ups and eat 8 Baby Ruth bars before he went out to teach, you know. It's like, I was like, sir, isn't that not good for you? The Baby Ruth, I need that sugar. Yes, sir, okay. And then we'd go out there. So, yeah, there was a lot of guests, a lot of people who would come, a lot of different styles we would learn, a lot of different people. And then we had black belt meeting every month, 7 a.m., Saturday morning. And there's 75 black belts in this mat that can barely hold 60. And we're all going at it. So good stuff. Good school. I don't know how it is now. I don't know if anything is like it, used to be. But, yeah, I'm old school. So I really, when I go to testings, for example, I'm a judge or whatever, as a guest. And they've already got the belts on the table with the certificates and all that stuff. Nah.
I think it's changed a lot over the years. I mean, to get a black belt years ago, it was hard earned. Where now they, like you say, they hand it out, aren't they? It's more like a money spinner now.
Sure, you're absolutely right, Lee. Absolutely, bothers me because how else do you don't get you get instant accountability in martial arts. You know, if you don't block, you're going to get hit, right? So instant accountability, but you're going to lay out this stuff for them. No, they got to wait. Think about what they did, know that they made a few mistakes and whatever. I can remember chewing my nails for a week, 2 weeks before I knew if I went to the next level. I waited 1.5 years after Master Chung said, Loren, you ready to test for black belt? I said, sir, I don't feel like I'm ready to test for black belt. Thank you, sir. And, so a trifecta of us, Tom Keller, Tammy Goldsmith, and we finally decided to test during the summer of 1985. So 5 years of training. Yeah. So I felt I was ready. And it was a very complete system. You had to deal with the mind over matter. You had to break bricks. You had to break boards. The bricks aren't going to break themselves. You can't bake them. You can't do anything to them, whatever. There's tricks, right? But you can't use them.
Yeah.
And this is really going to sound bad, but I knew I was testing with a girl, with Tammy. And so Master Chung said, Loren, you have another brick, which I happened to, because I kind of knew he was going to pull the chauvinistic thing. And so I put a couple of pennies, spaced them, and then went through both of them. Took my gi top off, because I had been hitting the makiwara and hitting the 10-pound, weight plate with my for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I was totally ready because, when you're breaking, this, Lee, you don't think about hitting the thing. You think about going through it.
Yeah, straight through.
So I just was going to go through that thing. I have a picture. It's on the web somewhere. But you can see of me going through the bricks. My mom's dear friend had the great timing in the right spot outside. He really snapped that moment because there was no second chance, But there's this picture of one of my going to be students, but was already a student there, and you can see him in the mirror. He's doing this. He's like, "How's he going to do that?" It's wonderful. It's just a moment. You can see you can see him in the mirror because the camera's behind, the judges panel are there. So you see them and then you see their backs in the mirror. And then you see this guy as I'm passing through the bricks. This was a great shot. But just to say, so that was the kind of, right? And then the things that were expected. When I came back from King of the Kickboxers, I tested for second dan about 6 weeks after that. I wasn't ready for the bricks, dude. I freaking hurt myself. So it is what it is. And then at third, I got kicked out before I took my third or whatever. It's fine. Nothing needs to be said about that. Did me a favor. So then I went through a different process. I was a Ronin for a while. Then I started to teach. And then I got my third, then my fourth, and so forth, and worked my way up through the ranks and also Hapkido. Then I had my own schools. So yeah. There you go.
Currently ranked 9th Dan, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
In both arts, and been awarded the title of Grandmaster.
Amazing.
That is also, it's a separate designation. You are a high rank. And look, just because I'm a 9th degree black belt doesn't mean I can kill everybody. What it means is what I've done for the art and the sport. That I continue to live the principles and create, that atmosphere of understanding and culture at my level, that I keep supporting the martial arts, that I keep training. Now, look, I had some gnarly tests, right? Especially in Hapkido, gnarly. And, where you're put through these things that are almost like you're in a movie, I mean, sleeping on the floor of the dojang for a week. Being fed this or fed that, and then, getting up when you're told to get up and going through what you're told to go through and freezing your ass off and doing all this stuff. It's all part of the Hapkido aspect because they train on concrete. It's more of a combative style. It's more of a grappling style, a joint lock and a this and a that. So, I mean, I came out of that whole ordeal. I didn't know whether I had passed or not, I threw all my dobuks and, my heavy canvas stuff into the rubbish. It was so dirty. I kept my belt, but they were so nasty and dirty and filled with blood and with sweat. And with, there's no way you could clean them. No way. Plus, I was so upset at myself thinking
you should have auctioned them on as a memorabilia.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, you're probably right. You're probably right. But what I went through was sort of a ritual and ordeal that is a rite of passage. And it's, there's many styles of Hapkido, but what I learned was a derivation and one that was combat style. So this is something where if you look at my wrist, I don't know if you can see it, but it's been broken 5 times. I have this huge nub here, and it's all one mass. Because the first thing they do is break your wrist. The first thing they do is none of this, holds. The first thing they do is snap your wrist. Now you got a dead arm. You know what I mean? All the rest of it is just part of it. To continue the technique or the motion or the next, stay on your feet and handle the next aggressor. So when these guys are going through the same kind of thing, because we were all testing at the same time, we don't know for what rank or who we are or whatever. You wear a blue uniform and a white uniform. That's instructor and also student. Because you need to change. Yeah. You can't go through the nastiness of this thing. So you get to change, shower off, but then you're back in there and you're going through the next hazing, as it were, the breakdown. Let's see who you are when you have nothing, and we're going to give you some food. And it sounds really extreme, right? Well, it is, because it's a combative. And you
to
know,
the next level, doesn't it?
yeah, it really does, because you don't know what to expect. And all's fair in war, all's fair in battle. So there it is. And that's something that, you know, is really kind of a, yeah, it's a, what is it? It's a, yeah, it's a milestone. It's a thing that you go through. It's like the soldiers when they go into the army or wherever else, you know, they get broken down and then build back up. Well, now they want to see how far they can break you down and how far you'll go and what you'll do with totally nothing. Now you get into the spiritual aspect of things, because you're tired, you're you know, you're miserable. So let's see how you are when you're completely raw. And it's amazing how much you can go through, or how much you think you can go through and go past, and then walk away. And then you and you alone know, you know, how you feel about yourself and how you know, because they're not gonna say much. And then later on, I found out that I didn't pass.
Yeah, I think sometimes you sort of adrenaline kicks in, doesn't it, to drive you forward a little bit more in them situations.
But you go past adrenaline. You don't have anything, you know, really, except your will. And, you know, I don't know how to describe it. But so little things like that, and also big things that people don't necessarily put themselves through, this kind of, shall we say, this crucible. And you find out who you are.
Yeah.
And yes, I was younger then. I was in my 40s, you know, at that point for that. But that was to become a very high rank. And then it becomes very secretive, because I don't feel like, you know, oh, I'm going to go around and say I'm this and I'm that. No, that's not what it is at all. So that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
the higher grade you get, when you get to sort of 8th dan, 9th dans and all that, it's more the knowledge you carry and take with you, rather than, you know, your younger years you're doing all the crazy stuff, and then it's more the knowledge to go forward, isn't it?
It really is. It's knowledge of self, and then it's also inspiration of others. And then you can look at them, and they see in your countenance and in your spirit that this indeed is a warrior. This indeed is a man who has been through a lot, and the way he carries himself is that of a humble warrior, a peaceful warrior. And that's what I wanted, because fear is just nothing but an inhibitor. Now it's a good instinct. You gotta use that, right? But you want to go past that. You want to become superhuman, right?
Yeah. Loren, have you ever had to use your martial arts in
Oh,
a
yes.
real life situation anywhere?
Oh yes, and I've used them in ways that are very subtle.
Yeah.
In other words, I haven't had to strike anyone. And then there's been times where I've whipped things up in front of people's faces and said, "Next one takes your head off."
Yeah.
But you know what happens, Lee, and I know you found this probably too, is when people are all, you know, crazed out or whatever, they're in a different psychosis or whatever, you can create the armor. This is what I do, and what I've done many times, is I'm surrounded by whomever in a bad environment. You know, I'm all by myself. This happened in LA a few years ago. I'm surrounded by these homeless people, or these people, and they have absolutely nothing to lose. I got my nice car there, this or that. And so I do this, Lee. I put on my armor, and I'm sure you've done this too. So what my armor is I simply say to myself, I'm ready to die. If you're ready to die, let me help you. And that changes my countenance entirely. So now this crazed person or whoever, or crazed people, are looking at a man standing there, and they can't understand it. They're not getting any of the feedback that they normally would get from someone in fear. And then I end up having to do nothing. I just stand there and I look, because I can't do anything. Honestly, I've got so much behind me, under me. Oh, so you took out these 3 guys. So obviously you moved first or whatever. Now I got to get witnesses. That's why I always would do this, or talk to people in an Italian way. So at least I have my hands up. And I undermine them psychologically. Now, if somebody's already going to attack you or kill you or hurt you, they're already going to be in the process of doing that. There's no conversation, right? So you've got to be able to sense people too, don't you? You got to know who there's someone around that corner. How do you know that? Mine just do, you know? So you've developed that side of yourself as well. So in the real situation, yes, I have kicked people. I have taken them down. I have done what I had to do. And I've been hit as well. But once they hit me, all it does is it snaps me into more of that state. I don't feel it then. I'll feel it later. You understand what I mean? It's that kind of thing. And so by command presence and by just being in that mode of, I'm ready to die. If you are, let me help you. That's an energy that is neither aggressive nor passive. Right? It's not an ego statement. It's a truth. It sounds stupid maybe, but that scares the shit out of people.
Yeah.
That are already in the
martial artists.
Huh?
With martial artists, you sort of where you're confident in yourself, you give off a different presence, don't you?
Well, with anybody. Yeah. I mean, kids on the street here being idiots the other day. Hold it. Somebody's going to fall off this cart thing that they've made that's being drugged by some mower or something like that, and they're having fun. But you can't do that on the street here. There's idiots driving around here that will take all 6 of these kids out. They'll be post-mortem, you know what I mean? So I give them a lecture. It's command presence. So I got 6 kids locked up calling me sir. And they're as big as I am. So it's that kind of thing, isn't it, Lee? We have sort of that dynamic of confidence and of quiet power. Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, I'm very lucky and very fortunate that I know about all that, and I can't tell you how much I wish everyone went through some sort of martial experience or some sort of experience that gives them a level playing field as far as their understanding of themselves and their capabilities, and also their faults, weaknesses, everything else. Because you can't hide, you know, when you've got the funeral uniform on, or buying a V-neck for the Taekwondo guys now. But you know that all of those uniforms and a belt just, you know, fold over, and the belt, that's funeral garb. You know, that's what the Japanese used to train in. And then all of these others, you know, when they would go to war, they would put on this basic outfit, and that's what you're buried in. Did you know that about the gi and the dobok and the, you know, the basic attire?
Yeah, crazy.
It's one that you're buried in.
Loren, can I just ask you a couple of random questions?
Absolutely, I've been random.
Yep. So who inspired you in martial arts, or who would sort of look up to in the martial art world? And then the same again for the movie industry.
Well, it's Bruce Lee. I mean, you know,
Bruce Lee.
I saw him in Bath. There was a hot air balloon festival there. We were doing the Lake District, my mother and I, and some very dear friends. And so we'd stayed over at the town of Bath. And so my friend, who was 15 and I was 10, said, yeah, I'm going to go out to this, see this movie tonight called The Chinese Connection. I said, well, aren't I going? He said, well, it's rated X. I don't know. So you're 10 years old. Da, da, da. So Tyler wasn't going to do me any favors. So we went to the theater, and I go up to the booth, and there's this poor little lady in there going, you're not old enough to get in. And I said, give me the ticket. You know, I was just like a crazed boy. And so she gave me the ticket. I watched the film, and I fell in love with this man. He was so powerful and didn't need anything, and believed in justice, and believed in, you know, what he believed in, and he was being subjugated and this and that and the other thing, and he was protecting others, and then he dies at the end, right? So Chinese Connection, Fists of Fury, whatever it's called here or there, right? So they're both kind of the same film, if you notice. Yeah. And so fell in love with it there, and then tried to find that type of person or that type of instructor in Los Angeles. I didn't have any money when I came back, you know, I'm a kid. So I tried a couple of classes, one at Beverly Hills High School after school. It was nothing but a class on how to get beat up. And I tried one at the park across the street at Roxbury Park from where we lived. And they were terrible. So when I finally had a car, but I knew some guys that had gone to Juncheon, after I bought I hated the bus. If the devil wanted to damn me or God wanted to damn me for all eternity, he would put me on a bus. So drove there, signed up, begged my mom, I bought my books, I bought everything. I just spent all my money on a car. I got all my books for class. Please, I need money to sign up for the 6-month program at Juncheon. She said, okay. So thanks to my mom, I went. But, I knew I needed that. I really did. I knew I needed that. And then 2 years later, I walked into Master Chung's office and said, sir, I was just tears in my eyes. I said, I can't pay anymore, sir. I don't have the money, to pay for the contract. He said, you don't have to pay. You cover. Okay. So that was something that not very many male role models have done much for me in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was absolutely strapped to that school and to him and all of them. Anyway, so yeah. So extraordinary life experience, right? Martial arts opens the door to many things because people become the same level and only what they've earned once they step on the mat, correct? So it didn't matter really. Oh man, I got to train with some really amazing athletes and people who came to the studio after I left. I would see like Sugar Ray Leonard was taking karate. Really?
He started taking karate, did he? Sugar Ray?
Yeah, he came to Juncheon and started taking karate. I walked in. I was no longer a part of the studio, but I was still, kind of familiar and friendly with people over there, so I would go over. And I walked in and I saw this kid who was actually quite fast. Eric Morset is his name. And he won a lot of tournaments and stuff. And he hit, and I know that Sugar Ray just wasn't expecting this. He hit him with a 1-2, like just a quick 1-2 to the face, right? And he's a yellow belt, but he just snapped it, pulled it back. And that kind of woke Sugar Ray up. And Sugar Ray did this 8-punch combination. Just, he snapped into, oh shit, I'm in the ring mode. And hit this guy everywhere, 7 ways from Sunday. And I was like, wow, what the fuck do you need to be here for, But, they wanted to try something else and they liked the atmosphere. And so you got all these kind of people that would pass through. Not a lot of them last. Because, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard is Sugar Ray Leonard. Shit. So I don't know how far he went or would have. But we had all kinds of these people. I remember I was sitting in a testing and Baryshnikov walked in the dojo. I looked in the back and I'm like, holy shit, that's Baryshnikov. The ballet dude, right? He had defected and was in LA. So, so we had all of this. We had this sort of area and location with Juncheon that was amazing. And it was like a magnet and a mecca for all these people to come through. Great athletes, great sportsmen, great, whoever. I had the whole UCLA front line practicing, UCLA football, practicing with me in my day class. I taught Ron Reagan Jr., the president's son. I taught Sage Stallone.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, when he was a little boy. Sasha came in. He was 7. And, I tried to give him some confidence and some stuff, but yeah, he didn't need privates. He needed to be in with others.
Yeah.
But bless his heart, he OD'd at 37. So 30 years later, he's with the gods, but, or with God. So, yeah. So in other words, it was a very interesting place to be. And it was a great place to come and be equal and equalized. And then I would go to all the other schools, and that's what got me kicked out, is because I would go to all these tournaments. I wanted to test my mettle. I wanted to do all this stuff. I didn't care what the style was. Mike Stone, Shotokan, Kung Fu Sansu, Kajukenbo, whatever, whoever. You having a tournament? Great, let's go. So I learned not to wear my Taekwondo patch eventually. And but I wanted to see if my stuff worked. So I did that early on. Throwing away all the plastic trophies and all the crap, because who needs it? But it was a part of the process, right, of testing one's knowledge. in a semi-controlled environment. So that was part of the training. And now at 61, I can say how old I am because my birthday's all over the internet. I can fairly say that, as destroyed as my body is or whatever, that I can still function, still move, still do stuff like I used to. And who can? Honestly, you're different today than you were yesterday, than you were when you were training 8 hours a day. You're doing this or that. And as you progress in age, you develop. What works for you, what you need, what you can and can't do anymore because of injury, because of this, because of that. Doesn't matter. It's this sack of skin we're in is what we use to get around and communicate and whatever. And I wouldn't change a thing about what I've done to myself and had others do, really, because you kind of learn that you can set your own levels, bars, boundaries, and things to a certain degree. So, and that's it. That's so wonderful, isn't it? Like. And then to know that I may have influenced and helped inspire people. Wow, you can't beat that with a stick. I get chicken skin all the time. And that's why I keep coming around full circle to martial arts and keep working with programs and people that are going to empower kids, going to empower people in their own, in their own situation and in their own lives. To make a step forward always, yes, get knocked down, but keep up, get back up, keep going, a la the Rocky speech, and a la just be a good example. That's what being a ninth Dan means. Yeah. 10th Dan, usually they give to some very rare champions and elite martial arts masters and instructors while they're still living. Usually that's an honor that's given to someone after their past. But like Keith Vitale, he was given a 10th degree black belt by this circle of great grandmasters and great martial artists, as he should, because he was number one, not just my blood brother, but he was number one fighter for 3 years from 1978, 9, and 80, from what I recall, or 77, 78, 79, and then into 80. And he kind of started that whole full contact point karate thing, He was in there. He was always on the cover of I remember he was on the cover of every magazine, That was the thing back in the day, right? You go to the newsstand and check out the mags. And so, now he's 10th Dan. I worked with him, and he had several karate studios. I did No Retreat 3 with him, and several karate studios. Amazing man. Amazing, amazing, amazing martial artist. So humble. Lee, it's amazing how only the truly great are humble is an expression, right? And it's a true expression, isn't it?
I find that in the martial arts, like even no matter how high up they are ranked in the martial arts, they've got time for you, and they come and speak to you and help you. But like we were saying earlier, you get that in the film industry, and some of them are just on a different planet, aren't they?
Well, they're on a different planet because I guess they feel separated by all this stuff. What bothers me and cracks me up at the same time is like when I hear Steven Seagal say that he taught Lyoto Machida and Silva that front kick. That's the biggest load of CRAP you can ever think of. No, they developed that themselves, sir. I've never seen you throw a front kick ever. And all of it, and what bothers me about these people too, and and a lot of them I know, who I know. I think Bloodsport. That's all I need to say. So I know the guy who Bloodsport's made about. Well, we kind of know the truth about this and that, don't we? And that's the sad part of this whole thing we're talking about. And what bothers me is, yes, okay, Steven Seagal is a Tibetan Buddhist monk. He's a lama. Well, you give the Dalai Lama $1 million, you can be a lama too. So, the thing about it is, and then he says he's a Navy SEAL or he was in Special Forces, as in some others do. That's an abomination to me. There's guys that are they're rotting or they've already rotted in some soil overseas or at the bottom of the sea. You'll never know who they were, and they're more special force than you'll ever be in your whole in their little finger, and they're rotting somewhere else. You don't know their name. You don't know who they are. Those are the real guys. So how dare you pretend to be such? How dare you speak as if you were such? First of all, I don't know any 6'6" Navy SEAL or Delta Force. They're usually 5'5" to 5'10", just like the Roman soldier, 5'5", carried a bag of oats on his belt, and a 40-pound shield and a 30-pound sword, and marched 12 miles a day and ate his oats. I mean, come on, you know? So when I think about these guys talking about how they're ex-military, ex-military doesn't talk about a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
They know, and like my father signed an oath, blah, 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 blah. So when you start bringing all that stuff into it, it makes me ill.
So Loren, I'll just ask you sort of,
Yes,
what does the future hold for you now? What sort of, what would you like to finish with, sort of going forward?
What I'd like to just tell the world is that, you know, there's always dreams. There's always these things that you want to do and accomplish. But what you do every day, you know, to help someone, open the door for someone, make them smile, you know, do something kind for someone that, don't be like the Pharisee. Don't wear that on your chest and, you know, beat your chest and so on. What I would like to do is just keep being relevant, being able to speak to people like yourself who will then, you know, allow me a voice. And I can still be a master of some sorts in the sense that I've got something to say that maybe people can benefit from. Otherwise, it's you know, it's a nice thing to have you listen, to have anyone listen, right? But what I would like to see is more of a come around universally in the world and in everything else that doesn't necessarily have to do with me. It has to do with us moving into a different kind of conversation about the world, about our, you know, what's important really. At 60, you start to reflect on these things. At 20, 30, maybe not so much. But the world is transitioning into those people. They're going to be calling the shots. They're going to be the leaders and the people who clean up our mess, our industrial revolution mess and everything else. So me, and what I would finally like to do is just keep being a part of the conversation. I'm working with nonprofits, still do. And one of the things that we're doing right now with a particular nonprofit is eliminating the fallacy of race. Because if you look at the DNA, you know, whatever it is, nucleus riboflex, whatever it's called, the hexa, whatever it is, right? Forgive me. There is no race. There is just deviation from the human body. We're still just one human being. So we're working on that as far as how do you deliver that message to people. And I'm working with scholars. And I come with this understanding because these guys are younger too. And they give me a little, you know, for instance, well, you know, we want to present this. And I said, well, but you've got to deal with the elephant in the room, which is race and slavery and conquest. It's part of the American, it's funny, Freudian slip, part of the apex predator that we are, you know? So how do we have this conversation with people and so forth? So I work with all these nonprofits. I stay in conversation. I stay in at the forefront of hopefully the, you know, dynamics of human communication and changing and seeing each other, not so much with a competitive or a fearful nature or whatever, but as one. But the whole thing is how can I leave the place a bit better than I found it?
Yeah.
I think at this point of the game, I think we need to really sort of take a few steps back and go, okay, what's really important? Well, I think us getting along is more important than anything now, all of us, and setting aside whatever differences they are, however we can. My thing is to still be relevant, still have a voice. So I appreciate you, Lee, letting me speak and letting me go on and on. and you listen.
It's been brilliant listening to sort of all the stuff that people don't know about you, and it's been great. It's great insight to how you live.
Thank you, sir. And it's not easy, you know. I've got to correct myself constantly because I am human. So, you know, it is what it is. But it's great. It's a pleasure to talk to you and your fans and your listeners and everyone. I just wish you all a wonderful rest of the year, and, you know, keep carrying on with what your martial journey is. You know, whatever that is in your life, whatever challenges you have, whatever things that you're dealing with, just keep going and try to be as kind to each other as you can.
Thank you, Loren. It's actually been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been fantastic.
And thank you for the opportunity, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Loren. I won't keep you no more. I'll let you go.
Cheers.
Mate.
Cheers. All right. Bye-bye.